join us again for our Bourbon Bite-Sized Learning. It is the first Friday of the month of April, and we are still cooking our way through our calendar, our NEP calendar. Hope you all have picked up your free copy here at the Extension office. If you haven't, then stop by anytime. It's right up front, and pick up your calendar. But today we're on April, and we're going to be doing pork with greens and beans. Okay? I am Kay Denniston, Bourbon County Extension FCS Agent, and Bourbon Bite-Sized Learning is brought to you by Casey and Kay. But you'll notice it's just Kay today, so I'm by myself. Casey is enjoying some well-deserved time off, and if she's joined us today, Casey, hope you're having a good day. The sun is shining, but it's not real warm. So, pork with greens and beans. Now, the interesting part about doing this as a Facebook Live, working our way through the calendar, is there's not a whole lot to show you. All I can do is talk to you about the recipe. It is prepared in a slow cooker, so all the preparation it had to be in there, well, several hours ago. But I am glad you joined us, and I hope that you'll try this recipe and make some notes and come back and join with us to see what you would do differently. Because I have some ideas on what I would do, and I'll share those with you. But I'd like to hear from you all too. This recipe is pick up and prepare it, you're done. It's a prepare ahead, plan ahead. There is one step that has to be done in the final hour. So the first thing I thought of is I fix it ahead, go home, I throw the extra in, an hour later we have dinner. I'm surprised it's an April recipe, because if you'll look at this picture here, I don't know how well you can see it on the Facebook, it just doesn't look like a spring recipe. It looked like a winter, cold weather, warming recipe to me. But who knew on April the 2nd it was going to be in the 20s? So I guess NEP did. That's why we have it as an April recipe. So let's look at your recipe if you've got a copy. If you don't, then I'll tell you about the ingredients and the steps involved in preparing it, even though it was all done ahead of time. The first thing you're going to have in this is a 1-pound pork butt roast. Now, I will tell you, a 1 pound, I prepared everything exactly like the recipe, so you can see how it turns out, and you can make adjustments according to your family likes and dislikes and amounts. But it only calls for a 1-pound pork butt roast. All I could find was a little bit over a 2 pound. And I wanted everything to be just like the recipe. So I went ahead and got the 2 pound, prepared it in the slow cooker, which is the first step, and cut it in half. Now, the first thing you do is put the pork butt roast in the slow cooker with a slice of onion over top of it, and then 3 cups of chicken broth. Then you will cook that in the slow cooker for about 5 hours, and then it will start to shred. I pulled it out after 5 hours, cut it in half, because I'm going to use this other half, I'm going to shred it as well, and put it with barbecue sauce, and that way we will have pork barbecue for another meal. So I have 2 meals mostly prepared. It's just a matter of adding the barbecue sauce and whatever's going to go with the barbecue, and then I'll have 2 meals for 1 week. So if you have a problem finding one the size you want, I could have doubled everything else and tried it that way, but I wanted you to see if you put the exact ingredients on the recipe in the slow cooker, how it would turn out. So after we did that for 5 hours, then like I said, I took the pork roast out, I cut it in half, shredded it, and put it back in the chicken broth and onion, and added the remaining ingredients. I left one step out that I need to tell you about, and I'm going to back up and share that because I do think it's an important part of the recipe, and it's one that a lot of people tend to skip. Before you put that pork roast in the slow cooker for it to cook for the 5 hours, brown it over hot oil in a skillet. I've left the skillet out so I'd remember to tell you that, and then I still forgot it. Just take your skillet, put a tablespoon, it calls for a tablespoon, it has to be exact. Put a tablespoon of oil, olive oil is what I used, in the skillet, and then brown your pork roast on all sides. The reason this is an important part of the recipe is browning that, or searing that pork roast on all sides helps maintain the juices of the roast in the roast. So when it is cooking in the slow cooker, in the chicken broth, some of it's going to come out, but not nearly as much if you had not seared it on all sides. And it doesn't take that long. I'll be honest with you, the only part of that I don't like is it's one additional thing to wash. So that's why it is tempting to skip it, but it is an important step. So we seared the roast, we put it in with over here in the slow cooker with the chicken broth and a slice of onion. We let it cook for about 5 hours. It can go a little bit longer depending on if you want chunks of pork, if you want to slice it and dice it into chunks, or whether you want to shred it. I chose to shred this one, okay? Then I cut it in half, put the shredded the pork, put it back in the slow cooker, and added the following ingredients with that. And I'm going to read them so I don't leave something out here. I added 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, low salt. We are really looking at nutrition here. We're trying to get as healthy eating lifestyle as we can. So if you can cut back on that sodium, it'll help. So you can buy the petite or the regular diced tomatoes in a low salt version. 2 cups of kale, chopped. I was lucky when I got it at Walmart. That was the only kind they had, okay? So it was already chopped for me. I didn't have to do that. And 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 3/4 a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 14-ounce cans of low sodium cannelli beans. Now, if you can't find those, or those are just light, or what we call white kidney beans. If you like kidney beans, they're the white version. But if you didn't want that, you could use navy beans. You could use I had another option here, and I don't remember what I was. Oh, Great Northern. Yeah, Great Northern beans. So that would work fine. It will give you the same nutrition. It'll give you the protein that's in the bean, and it'll have the same coloring and be ready for you. So we put all of that in after the pork had cooked for 5 hours. We added all those ingredients, and then we cooked it in the slow cooker for an additional hour. So I think you can see what I was talking about now. You could have it all ready, the pork ready, and when you get home, have everything ready to throw on top of it. Again, you don't mix it, you just put it in there layer by layer, and then wait an hour while you're kind of gearing down from your day at work, and it'll be ready to serve after that hour. So let's look at our finished product. I'm going to show you 2 options of serving. Because this is such a hearty, warm recipe, I thought you could serve it in a bowl, almost like a soup. And I am one of those people, I think most people do, they just don't realize it. I eat with, my first opinion of a meal is my eyesight, okay? I eat with my eyes. And this has lots of color. I'll show you in a minute after I dip it into our clear bowl here. Okay, we have our kale, our tomatoes, the beans, and the pork. like I said, my pork is shredded. If you had the diced pork, you would see bigger chunks there, but you could eat it almost like a salad or a hot salad, a warm salad, or a soup. I think there is a lot of liquid here. We had the 3 cups of broth, chicken broth, and then I didn't drain any of the vegetables I put in there, the tomatoes or the beans, because it didn't say drain them. So there's a lot of liquid in here. If I did it again, I might drain the vegetables to see if it was a little bit thicker. But just now in serving it, I realized that we can just dip that off when we plate it up. Also, you can plate it if we're a family, and you might get a better vision of the different colors involved. I was a little concerned about using this white plate. I wanted to use white, and I didn't have a white bowl. But I think the white plate's going to work out just fine. So. Okay. Doesn't that look very colorful and healthy? I kind of like it on that plate. Now you would have to serve it with, maybe not our lime green tongs, but it would have to be served with tongs probably if you serve it out on a plate like this or even in a bowl. I will tell you, I like easy in recipes, but even better than that, this dish has very few dishes to wash when you're finished. And that is one of my favorite characteristics of this dish. You can fix it ahead, and most of us are very busy now, and that's a good thing. Plus the other thing is you don't have many dishes to wash when it's over. And let's look at all the nutrients that are involved in this recipe. This recipe is very high in fiber. We get that from the kale, okay? The kale is very good for our digestive system. It's high in protein. Both the pork and the beans are going to offer protein. High in potassium and vitamin K, again, comes from the kale. I don't know how many kale eaters I have out there, but kale has a lot of nutrients, a lot of good qualities for us. We need to experiment. You know, you can take some of those Hello Bites that Casey talks about. If you're not used to eating kale, then try it a different way and see. And this might be the way that will best fit your palate, okay? Vitamin K is kale is very high in vitamin K. Vitamin C is in the tomatoes and the kale, so you get a good supply there. Vitamin A is in the kale and tomatoes, and you have antioxidants in the kale and tomatoes. So we have a lot of things covered there. We have 2 of the food groups involved here. What could we do to add to this to complete a meal so that you had all the food groups covered? You could have a fruit for dessert, or you could add a slice of whole grain toast to eat alongside your bowl. There are a lot of options, but you at least have 2 of your basics included in this recipe. Also, it suggests on here that you could use dried beans instead of the canned beans that I mentioned. And if you use the dried beans, you cook them there, soak them and cook them yourself, you have a lot more control on the amount of salt that's involved in the recipe. Also, if you cook dried beans and you cooked a bunch and you cook too many for this recipe, you can freeze dried beans even after they've been cooked, okay? And have them for later, like I'm going to have with my barbecue over here. Any questions, concerns, or thoughts about whether you will try this? We'd like to hear from you. We are at the Bourbon County Extension Office, and we have all the recipes. The calendars are free. Our information is free. We're here to help you. We are here to educate and to share with you. And all of our information is research-based from the University of Kentucky. and we're located at 603 Millersburg Road. We'd love to have you visit. And I am sporting my Autism Awareness t-shirt today in honor of some of my sweet dear friends that I have met in education, and I still consider myself an educator, and hope you will explore and educate yourself maybe on autism today. We call it autism awareness. I prefer to call it autism education. I think we are aware. We just need to learn more about it. So that's my little plug for April 2nd, Autism Awareness Day. And I think I have completed. I don't see many comments. Kim says looks and sounds delicious. Maybe she'll be a taste tester later. Okay. Hope Casey's having a good day. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Easter weekend, and it is going to warm up, I promise. Thank you for joining us today for Bourbon Bite-Sized Learning, cooking our way through the calendar. Thank you.